Nuff mode. Can't hear a word I'm saying. Hang on. Too loud, maybe. How's that sound? Is that better?
Volume was too high.
Volume way too high.
And I think you were muted for a moment as well.
Oh, maybe that was because of the thing. Anyway, we're back for full Nuff mode. It is an Easter edition. We're all over the shop today because we've had too much chocolate. The kids are going crazy, but we're here. We've made it. We're a little bit late, but we're here to talk a little bit of footy. And the footy is not quite done yet, Paul. Do we have a game tomorrow? Welcome, Paul, by the way. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be on board again, and we'll just do our thing.
Yeah, we'll get through it. We'll get through as many games as we can. I think we've got through about 7 of the 8 games so far. Yep. We've played, and then the Cats versus Hawks tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about that. Paul's got his Nuff of the week ready to go in the chamber. We might have a bit of a look at some of the teams, where we think they're at so far this year. I think we've got a bit of a read on a few of the teams so far after 3 to 4 games. And we'll close out and we'll have a bit of a look at some of the big games coming up in Gather Round in round 4 of the AFL season. But Paul, let's start. Do you want to take us through some of the games of the round? We'll start with the Collingwood-Brisbane game on Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of weren't too sure about either team going into the week, with neither team registering a win to that point, both of them being the grand finalists, though, and you'd expect better from at least one of the two, but they'd both been kind of stinking up. And to be honest, whilst the Pies got the win by 20 points, I don't know that they really demonstrated their best either. They just played better than the Lions, who have clearly still got their heads in Vegas.
Yeah, they definitely do. Well, a few of their players do, and that was interesting news through the week, wasn't it? The Gabba's not looking too strong anymore. So I know the Cats are playing up there in a few weeks. If you're new to this show, this is very much a Geelong show. Yeah, so we've got that. I think we should be fine. Three in a row, 3 losses in a row at the Gabba. Bookmark that right now. What did you think of the Carlton North game? North. It's disappointing. I'm wanting to see a little bit more from North, but they lost to Carlton by 56 points.
Yeah, you were pretty scathing in your thoughts with a couple messages you were firing around. But I mean, you can see the promise. The undisciplined stuff I can kind of ignore, because they're trying to make a bit more of a stand. They're trying to show that they're not pushovers. And then when it comes to their on-field stuff, like the actual football side of things, they are trying to play a very freewheeling, what have they been calling it? North ball.
North ball.
Which that they can jam that title. But they're trying to kind of forge an identity. So I don't mind that and not to mention they're young kids, so they're going to learn from some of the mistakes when they overstep the line and give away 50s or whatever. I think they gave away like 6 50s or something in the end at one point. Yeah, 6
50s. It was diabolical, really. I don't know if some of it was maybe some of the umpiring, but it didn't help.
So they ultimately went down by 56 points, and look, Carlton just kind of toyed with them for the most part. I don't think they necessarily pushed themselves too much, but Harry and Charlie are looking pretty potent at the moment, though.
Yeah, look, I think probably from the Blues side of things, I think the fans would be saying they're going okay. They'd be happy with a 3-0 start, as most teams would be at this point of the year, but nothing special, really. Last couple of weeks, just got the job done. They've had a pretty generous start to the year in terms of the draw. Things will get a little harder for Carlton as we go along, but clearly the first game up in Brisbane was a good one, but maybe not so great now when you look at Brisbane being 0-3. So
they've fallen over the line twice and then pumped a team that they should have pumped. So
exactly. So who knows? We'll see how many other teams beat up on North throughout the year, and maybe 56 points will be good. Maybe 56 points will be not so good. But anyway, the Freo versus Adelaide one, I got this tip wrong. I went Adelaide on this one. I don't know why, but Freo by 35 points over in Perth. What did you think of this game? Any highlights from you from this one?
Don't even talk about footy tips. This round has been an absolute disaster for footy tipping. So yeah, I did not pick it. But I put a tweet out there, I think right near the end of the game, or if not post game, that Adelaide are about as toothless as Essendon with their, what do they call it? Their Essendon edge, or whatever the case was. Yeah. In reality, considering Essendon actually got the chocolates this week, they're probably about as toothless as Collingwood supporters. So I don't know. It's hard to get a real proper read on Adelaide Crows at the moment, but I think they're showing that maybe they're not what we all kind of expected them to be, and and they're kind of bound to sit in the bottom half of the ladder. Meanwhile, Freo, they're looking real sharp. I think we all kind of, and I say, very royal we, collective we, that we all kind of thought they were going to be cellar dwelling this year, and instead they're 3-0. They signed their coach up for 1 year. We laughed at that and thought, okay, that's just try and buy him a few months before we inevitably kick him out later on for something better. Now it seems like a bit of at least for now, a bit of a masterstroke. He's going all right. So
was the Matthew Nix appointment a masterstroke? The extension, sorry.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
Their list seems good. Like they should be delivering more than what they are. So
wait and see. All right, Essendon defeated St Kilda by 4 points. This was a cracker, this one, with the roof shut at Marvel Stadium. The package delivered, Paul. Did you watch the highlights of this game, or did you watch the game? I caught.
No, I saw bits and pieces of the game. I caught a few highlights to fill in a few gaps, but I saw majority of what I saw was live, and I thought this game sucked. It was an awful game to watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it was interesting because it was close, but as an actual spectacle, it was two B grade teams, maybe C grade teams, kind of duking it out. So I wasn't overly enthralled by the game at all, outside of probably that final little portion of the game when the Bombers stuck in front.
Right, yeah.
But
yeah, no.
Ross is paying a price for being too defensive. Sure, great job, you're keeping the opposition score down, but when you're not piling it on yourself, you create opportunity for the opposition to actually pinch a win, and it's happened. So
they found a way.
Just have to see.
Don't know with St Kilda. I can't get a read on them just yet. Essendon's the same. There are a couple of teams I just don't know which way they're going to go. They look great. St Kilda looked fantastic last week when they beat the Pies. Essendon can put it on 1 week and then just be diabolical, terrible the next. But yeah, I think them, probably the Freo and Adelaide, those 4 teams as well, or those other 2 teams, they're sort of those middling sides that you don't see them being top 4 sides, or at least I don't. Maybe Freo fans are starting to think they're going all the way this year, but settle down. I think Adelaide 0-3, those 2 will probably finish somewhere even, I reckon. And I think Essendon and St Kilda will probably be the same. I did like former catch Jordan Clark. I think he's really stepped it up a little bit. Yes, I'm happy. Well, happy for him. He's starting to reach his potential. A shame we couldn't see it down at Geelong, but I think it's turned out well for everyone there. So with all the trades that went down there. Now the Melbourne defeated Port Adelaide. Defeated Port Adelaide by 7 points. Jack Viney's 200th game. I'm not sure how many games they've played as a father and son, but yeah, D's looked pretty impressive there in that fourth quarter, running over the top. I didn't think they were going to do it. But good on them.
No, I thought no May, no Demons, but they did a great job. And yeah, to your point about Jack Viney, it's only the 6th father-son pairing to have both played more than 200 games.
Okay.
So I guess for whatever that useless stat's worth, congratulations to them. And congratulations to the D's for pinching a win that I think most of us didn't necessarily see coming. Certainly looking at the footy tipping ladder of the comp that I'm a part of, and most people didn't, but also this round's been a mess. It says everything that I need to know actually about the state of the ability to tip this season, that the person who's been perpetually second last for the last 4 years in my work competition is now second in season 2024 because you can't tip anything accurate.
You can't. No, it's really hard the first month of footy tipping. It'll even out, but a lot of the damage is done, unfortunately, in that first month.
Yeah, I've already slipped 4 tips behind at this point, which is not good.
Goodness me. I was 4th on Thursday night after tipping the Pies to break the duck. I thought, here we go, I'm on, and then it's just gone all downhill after that. But I should be happy with that. But look, yeah, good for Melbourne. Port started well. They've lost one. They'll probably rue that later in the year when they're vying for spots in the 8. I'm still thinking they'll finish top 8. But yeah, that could be one that they'll regret later on as they go on. Now, Paul, this was the game of the round. The
actual game of the round?
Bulldogs versus West Coast. Oh, mate. West Coast Eagles losing by 76 points. I can't remember what they scored, but it was the lowest they've ever scored at Marvel Stadium. They haven't won a quarter.
3-12-30. So
3-12-30. They haven't won a quarter all year, Paul. What needs to happen with that club? Tear it down.
I mean, it'd be nice, I guess, for for some kind of very exaggerated talk to say, yeah, let's tear the joint down, but they're one of the most profitable. I think they are the most profitable club in the competition. So there's no way that's going to happen. But they need to sort out this on-field stuff. I don't know how Adam Simpson's still hanging on, to be honest. That premiership in 2018 is a long time ago now. Dom Sheed's goals a long time ago now. Sucked in pies. Their list management hasn't been good. Hell, even Harley Reid's not showing that much so far. But that's fine. It just lowers his trade value before we pick him up.
I was about to say they could get creative if they wanted to fix their problems and think of a potential trade for Harley Reid.
We'll offer pick 4, the 4th round pick and a bag of peanuts, and we'll take Harley Reid.
Yep.
Look, there's only so much that you can do. Like, I mean, I haven't really watched a West Coast game this year, and I wouldn't want to really. But there's a little bit of me that wonders if he's not being tagged or something at this really early stage, because he's a massive accumulator of the ball, but he seems to just be unable to get his hands on it at this point. So I'm wondering if he's getting tagged straight out the gate, because it's a pretty safe bet at this point that he's close to their best midfielder.
Yeah,
he's playing 80% game time, so it's not like he's significantly reduced game clock. So I don't know.
Did you think
they're awful?
Did you like what you saw from the Bulldogs, or is it because we're playing them next week? But
I didn't like what I saw from the Bulldogs at all.
Or is it that they should have kicked a lot more goals? I reckon, but yeah, I don't know. It's not the kind of preparation you want.
When you keep an opposition team to a score of 30, you'd expect that you've scored at least 130. But I mean, look, they cracked the ton, but 16-10. Yeah, I'm not overly inspired by that.
Yeah, well, they weren't going to crack the ton at one point there, but they just got over the line. All right, now a much better game was the Richmond versus Sydney game. I thought I had my show notes ready to go, Paul, tonight in advance. I had Sydney defeating Richmond by X amount. Had to change that at the last minute. Richmond got the job done by 5 points there. Richmond, are they back? No. Is it just a one-off? Is Sydney pretenders? What's your read on this game?
I don't take too much from it at all, actually. The Tigers and the Swans just seem to have these sorts of contests. They have done for quite some time now. I think back to even when Richmond was kind of first peaking through the late teens or 20 teens, and they were having these contests with Sydney then, and they've just continued to have them over the years. So I don't make too much of it. It is interesting, though, that the Tigers basically held the lead for all but about 10 minutes of the match, 10, 15 minutes of the match early in the third term. Or late into the second, then early into the third. They basically had the grip on the game for the majority. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a little bit we can read into the Swans, but I think we'll need more evidence, before we can really make a definitive sort of call on them. Because the opposition is just one that's been problematic for them for a while. And we know that like teams have their bogey team.
Yeah.
The team that just matches up really well, whatever it happens to be. And it seems like for both those teams, it's each other. So
it was, I think Isaac Heaney's looking pretty good for the Brown. One of the favourites for the Brown at this stage. He had another great game. I think if you're a Swans supporter or even the club, you've got to be happy with 3-1 start to your first month of footy. I think at the start of the year they would have taken that. They're set up really well for the middle and end of the year now. So I don't know. I think clearly everyone's playing in Adelaide next week, but they should get some more games at home soon as well. So I don't think they'll be too fast. Hopefully the Cats get a big win tomorrow and we'll go ahead of them on the ladder. I don't know what percentage we'd need to take over them, but I think we're about 12% or something like that behind them at the moment. But potentially
that's
because
nothing
they
at
lost.
this early stage. So
no, not really. So
and we're about 7% behind.
Richmond haven't proven anything to me. Sydney should be pretty happy with 3-1 start to their year. I think. I don't know. It's a tricky round to get. As you said, it's stuff the tipping around. No one can kind of get a read on the competition really at the moment. It's going to be a tricky one though. And as I said off the top, the Cats and the Hawks haven't played yet, Paul. But it is scheduled for 3:20 tomorrow. We are going. Paul and myself and my partner Beck are all heading along, so we'll be watching the game. Hopefully, the weather gods are kind to us. Hopefully,
we're well protected in the MCC, Ben. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Paul, for those tickets. And Tommy Hawkins will get chaired off at the end as well. We're not quite sure who will chair him off yet.
Comment section, let us know who you think.
I think the Twitter poll had Blitzarves and Jeremy Cameron as the favourite at 45% of the Twitter poll. So I think Duncan could be a late one to come in for that now. I think we could
He's a
keep
late
an
in
eye
for the
on.
game. So,
But the bigger story really with tomorrow's game is Toby Conway. He's another bigger story. The Toby Conway begins his hunt for that All-Australian Guernsey in 2024. It begins tomorrow, people. It's happening. Happy to see Toby back at the side, mate.
I mean, it's interesting, I guess, the circumstances. Reece Stanley's being managed. He was having some little injury concerns last week. Managed, but he's still on the emergency list.
None of the older players get omitted, mate. You know that. It's always managed.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And look, it kind of checks out to a degree because we do have the interstate trip next week for Gather Round and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm a little bit sus on it. But either way, Toby Conway's in, and I think that's brilliant for us. He's absolutely shaping up to be the future of our ruck line. So hopefully that goes well. Hopefully he can smack her in. Who's the Hawks' go-to ruckman at the moment?
It's not Ned Reeves, that's for sure. I can't remember who they've brought in, but while you're looking that up, look, I'm happy Toby Conway comes in for game number 2. We joke that all Australians on the cards. He played a good debut game against Tim English. Lloyd Meek, there you go, from former Fremantle Docker.
Right? Yeah.
That's correct. I think Cats were looking at him at one point, but look, I hope he goes okay. Either way, he needs games. If he plays the stinker, that's okay. He needs to play 10 to 12 games this year. We've got to get games of AFL footy into this guy before Stanley just can't go anymore. I think it makes good sense. I think Stanley will probably either come back in next week and Conway makes way, or they play them together.
Why bother? Toby Conway smacked Tim English last year. Why not do it again next week to Gather Round? Everyone, come and gather and watch this young upstart ruckman smoke the All-Australian from 2023.
Well, he is the world champ of ruckman in the AFL now, isn't he? So now we didn't talk about Gold Coast and GWS because they had a bye. So unfortunately, you can't play your song, and I haven't even got it queued up for you anyway, your GWS song. So that might have to wait next week, people. Only if they get the win. That is the rule that I'm putting on you, Paul. Only if they get the win, you get to play that one. Now, do you want to go through some of your contenders, or do you want to let us know who your Nuff of the week is, Paul?
No, we've got some contenders, and we'll talk about those here rather than the dedicated video that I put together. So when it comes to Nuff of the week this week, we could have looked at a few different people or groups of people this week. We could have even focused on a stadium. So we'll start there with the Marvel Stadium's, graphics team that seemed to have a bit of a hard time identifying. I can't even remember because there's so many different logos that popped up now. It was St Kilda they couldn't get right.
Yeah, St Kilda they couldn't get right.
Game. And they could not get the logo right for St Kilda. We had North Melbourne pop up there. We had the Cats pop up there. They could not get the Saints one for I have no idea how long. But guys, it's not that hard. You've probably got a button with the picture of every single club logo on it. Can you just press the right button? It's not that difficult.
It's hard.
We can talk about boundary umpires with their eyes painted on because that's cropped up yet again. But we won't wade too deeply into that. We also won't wade too deeply into the goings on of the Brisbane Football Club over the off season, and their hands, faces, and other sort of things in places they shouldn't have been. Clearly, we'll leave that alone. We'll focus on a former Cat this week. We couldn't. Look, I wonder. I don't relish this because we did enjoy the fact that he was playing for the Cats. Didn't totally shed a tear when he departed though, because I think he was causing more problems in terms of on-field stuff than good. But Asava Radicalia had another brain phase this week. Yeah, I got a bit choked up all of a sudden. Asava Radicalia had another brain fade. Now we know Asava for obviously he's a former Cat, and we've had plenty of history with Asava. We have also known that he's been one to have some challenges with the goal line from time to time. Not quite know what he should be doing around the goal line. And so, Asava, I'm going to take the opportunity to teach you how to what the goal line's function is and how you should use it. When you're a forward, and we'll cast back to the old scenario here. When you're a forward, the general gist is that you don't touch the ball. You actively try not to touch the ball so the ball sails through for a goal. Conversely, you're playing a defensive position these days. Your goal is to interfere with the ball before it crosses the line, not take a simple chest mark once the ball's crossed it. With no competition, I might add. There was no one standing on the line. I think the commentators were criticising Melbourne for not having anyone standing on the line because it would be far too easy for Asava in the event that the exact kick that happened played out.
So to clarify, Paul, so I understand it, and so if Sava, I'm assuming Sava's watching as well.
Sava, you're watching.
So I understand. So if you're a defender, you don't let the ball go through.
No, you try to spoil it over the line.
Oh, okay. I think that's the confusion. And if you're a forward, you kind of want it to go through.
You kind of want it to go between the big sticks. And it seems like he's got those two things reversed.
I'm with you now.
Based on a couple samples at either end of the ground. So,
Gotcha.
sorry, but there's no way around this. And there's probably this little bit of extra mayo because, of course, we are a Geelong thing and we can throw a little bit of love to an extra.
It's all love, Asava. All love.
Asava, you're the Nuff of the week this week, mate.
Sorry.
Please learn to play your defensive position. God help me. But also, if you can do that when you play against us next, it'd be great. If you want, and I can already see this coming. When do we play Port? Do you know when we play
I think
Port?
mid-year roughly. I think
not soon enough because he might learn the error of his ways before then. I'm gonna scroll back really quickly and find the ladder. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility that when the time comes for us to play against the Port Adelaide Football Club, if he doesn't kick the ball the wrong way, like he takes a great defensive mark and then takes a shot at goal for us. Of course, from the behind. But
banana from the boundary. Now, what he'll do, Paul, is it'll go through and he'll grab the flags and he'll start waving the flags around. Not your job. The AFL employs people to do that.
May 10th. Oh, of course it's May 10th because I wanted to go to that. It's in Geelong. I can't make it.
I think we'll be there.
Yeah,
pretty sure we'll be there. There's no reason why we wouldn't be there.
Friday, May 10th at GMHBA. I want to go there, but I have to attend as a responsibility of my job at work. I have to attend a Year 11 Deb that night.
Wow! Have fun.
Rather a bullet.
I'm sure you will.
Anyway, I shouldn't encourage that on the internet. Well, anyway, too late. Damage is done. So yeah, I have to go to a school Deb rather than go to see Geelong and the Port Power, and that's awesome. I love that.
I would love to tweet you updates. However, that is not looking likely.
You won't be able to get reception and or Wi-Fi.
Unlikely. Now, before we move on from round 3, let's
actually, there's a little bit of trivia too. Also, just game 3-5-6 for Hawk, which I think would push him past Joel at that point, right?
There you go. Get there, people. That sounds about right.
He's played 355, yeah. So that would be the game that Hawk overtakes Joel as well.
Okay.
I'm loving this for me. I'm really loving this for me. Thanks, Leo. Okay.
Love it. All right. Let's have a quick look before we go to the next week. Let's have a look at where we think some of the teams are this year. We probably don't know much about Geelong just yet, 2 games in, so I won't touch on them unless you want to. But I do want to make the first point.
Top spot.
I want to make the first point. West Coast Football Club, they're bad at football. I think we've figured that out 3 games in. I think we know they're not good at football. Do you agree or disagree?
Their coach might be bad at coaching too, but
or
lost the plot when it comes to coaching. But anyway, they're bound for last at this point.
Yeah. What's some of the things that you think you can get a good read on so far with some of the other teams, mate? Any other teams stand out to you with how they're tracking?
We touched on Adelaide so far, and I think they're going to be a bit of a letdown. The Bombers, as much as obviously they're 2-1 now?
I think so, yeah.
1 and 2. 2-1. I stand by the fact that I think they're a bit toothless. I don't think they're going to necessarily do overly much as the year plays out. They're going to pinch a win here or there. They might surprise a team if they kind of click. Nick Martin, look, I don't like supporting Cornsey too much, but maybe we need to kind of assess how stats are recorded, specifically kickouts, because he got a fair few cheapies to add to that tally just by kicking the ball out, stepping over the line and kicking out. But anyway, I won't wade into that. Kane Corns has done enough. And I don't want to be seen to be encouraging that guy too much. The Dogs, I think, are playing above themselves at the moment. But of course, they have had the luxury of beating up on the Eagles. So
I don't know.
I mean, you look at their percentage, you go, oh, cool, 138, but that doesn't really tell us a huge amount, I don't think. Wait to see there. I don't know. we've kind of touched on the Swans already. I think one of the teams that we're probably not going to give enough oxygen to this week because they're not playing. Is actually probably both teams that aren't playing this week in Gold Coast and GWS. GWS is shaping up to be the front runner at the moment, and so I wish I had the song handy. But the Suns, they had a bad one there against the Dogs in Ballarat last week. So it'd be really interesting to see what Dim has done with them with the extra week that they've had off. I'm sure they'll learn a lot. They are a young team that's probably coming to realize that, hey, actually we're not too bad at this. Like, we're a serious team now. So what happens when they maybe get a bit complacent one game and get rightly smacked by an opponent? It'll be really fascinating to kind of see what happens there. So
yeah,
the Suns are one to watch, I think, in terms of how they respond the following week.
A couple of teams for me. Look, I think I was pretty much ready to write off Melbourne Demons at one point. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're here. I thought with all the off-field drama, I just thought the slide was coming for them, but I wouldn't be writing them off just yet. Not to say that they'll be a top 4 team, but I think at this stage they're thereabouts. So keep an eye on them. Freo, I'm not sold on. They've won some games ugly. I think that's going to be their style all year long. I think it's going to work for the first 3-4 weeks of the year, but I don't see it working beyond that. So, and I think Brisbane, to me, I know we've talked a lot about Brisbane, but they look like the new Adelaide Crows from a few years ago, where following that grand final, some interesting things happened in the off season, band camp, so forth. But yeah, don't go to Vegas next time, Brisbane. Saw some stuff out. I think the walls are starting to fall in. The roof is collapsing. Everything is going wrong in old Brisbane town. I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, there's something to be said. I think for all clubs, let your players go to Bali unless they're Jordan De Goey. Let them go to anywhere in Europe, no issues. Let them go anywhere except LA. Like, it's so obvious. Do not let your AFL players go to LA. They'll get their noses in things they shouldn't. They'll get other things in places they shouldn't. It's a recipe recipe for disaster, harmony breakers, all those sorts of things. Like, it's just not good for a club. No. Too many temptations for some folks that continue to prove themselves time and time again to not be necessarily the sharpest when they need to be, or not immune to temptation like they perhaps should be.
And very convenient for this story to drop for the AFL after all the drugs debacle through the week. But we'll move on.
Well, yeah, we didn't even touch on those two stories.
We haven't touched on that.
Between the D's and between the Swans girls, which that is the one for me. That's the girls one is the one that surprised me, and I guess it's a lack of knowledge, I think. But yeah, it said somewhere that the illicit drugs policy doesn't apply to the women's comp.
I think they hadn't kind of caught up after they rolled something out initially, and then it's not really been looked at since, or something like that. So they're going to have a look at it.
Bite them on the ass.
There's probably going to have be some conversations with clubs around the policy. Looks like they're reviewing it anyway, but I reckon there'll be more to talk about on that in the coming weeks, Paul. So save your energy for that one, because I think that's going to be that and the Brisbane story. I think there'll be a fair bit coming still, and probably Melbourne. If we throw that in as well, there's stuff to come in that space. But let's look ahead to round 4, gather round of the AFL season. And I've highlighted about 3 games, which I think are going to be big on the agenda. Now, we always put the Cats on there, so that goes without saying. But one that I thought is probably not I wouldn't call it a blockbuster, but one that'll probably be a season-defining game for these teams. I think the Adelaide versus Melbourne game, it'll be interesting to see if Adelaide lose this. I think you can almost say top 8's done for them, losing 4 in a row to start the year. If Melbourne lose it, I don't think it says much. But if they win it, goodness me, I think they're well on their way. 2 wins over in South Australia in consecutive weeks. What's your read on this game, mate?
No, I'm inclined to agree with that sort of judgment. And it'll just be really interesting as a matchup anyway, because obviously the Crows' great strength really is their forward line with Fogarty or is he Fogarty? Which one's I don't know. Who cares? Yeah. Fogarty and Tex as the 2 key forwards, and obviously Melbourne being depleted there at the moment to an extent. So certainly not at their best in the defensive end. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that one shapes out, let alone the fact that it's played at home, let alone the fact that the Crows are going to have so much negative press about them at the moment. does that sting them? You'd hope it would, but does it kind of prompt the right kind of form from them? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that is a really interesting game. I'll agree with you on that one.
Interesting game. I think probably the game, but again, it's probably on paper, it doesn't look great. Freo versus Carlton, but it is two teams that are in the top 5 in the ladder at the moment. So Freo currently sits second on the ladder somehow. Don't ask me how.
Luke Jackson is how. Luke Jackson is how.
Luke Jackson and Carlton is currently sitting 6th on the ladder. Hopefully not after tomorrow, but currently they're sitting...
They're 5th and will be 6th, yeah.
Hopefully will be 6th. So they're both undefeated teams as well. So one of those teams will remain undefeated. The other team will cop a loss. I think Freo, if they lose this, they'll go, well, Carlton's pretty good. We've had a good start. We're happy with 3-1. Carlton lose it and they're like, oh, well, it's over. It's not even Perth, is it? I think Carlton will be very happy to get Freo.
And not have to do the full trip.
Yeah, get an undefeated team, not even on their home deck. I think Carlton's, their fixture, the way their fixture's rolled out so far, again, apart from round 0, whatever it was against Brisbane, they're having a great old time at the moment. So one of those teams will be undefeated. All right, Paul, we're playing the Bulldogs. The teams have come out. The Cats are playing the Bulldogs. That's probably the other biggest game for, again, this is a Geelong channel, so a Geelong show, podcast, whatever. We're playing the Bulldogs. It will be, providing he plays tomorrow. Blitzarves will play his 250th game if he plays in Adelaide, which again...
We're having a milestone every week at the moment. So.
And a milestone every week. 250 for him. Reece Stanley is a possibility of playing his 200th. He is listed as an emergency for the Monday game against the Hawks. So if he comes in...
The game that 12 rows back says we're going to win by 60-plus points tomorrow. And it being a 4-goal conclusion.
Seb knows exactly what he's talking... I assume it's Seb. He knows exactly what he's talking about there. Sorry for going hard on your North boys earlier too. But yeah. No, I think, Reece Stanley probably won't play his 200th next week, but Blitzarves, everything going well, should play his 250th. And another chair off. Yeah, we'll say that. I'm glad that him and Hawkins aren't sharing it. Potentially, Hawkins might have a chance at kicking 800 goals if he kicks a couple of bags in a row, but we'll see.
What's he on now?
About 13 or 14 to go or something like that.
We're not playing Essendon along the way, so don't worry about it.
No, save that for a bit later, Tom. Bring it up against Essendon, I reckon. So that's big. Nice. So shall I go? Do you want to go through some of the ins, Paul? Have you got them up, or?
Yeah, I can bring the ins for the game up. But yeah, I guess it is kind of interesting. I guess the outs specifically, we've obviously got Dangerfield with a hamstring. Tui and Stanley have been managed. But then on top of that, you've got Mitch Nevitt was omitted, as well as Shawnee Manor, which I've seen a bit of surprise sentiment when it comes to Shawnee Manor. And look, that's fair. I think he's played. I mean, he obviously had very limited game time in round 1, but was pretty solid for the time that he was out there. And then you could see the signs in his second game. I would argue that there were some selfish efforts. He did torch a few teammates at different points over the course of that last game, and so maybe there's a bit of a slap down and education sort of thing that's going on here for Shorty Manor, and maybe, okay, go back, show us what we want to see from you, play the team game, that sort of thing, and then come back stronger for it. So there could be that. As far as the ins concerned, we've obviously spoken about the All-Australian ruckman Toby Conway coming back in. Mitch Duncan returns after having a baby. Congratulations. Or his partner having a baby. Congratulations. Tommy Atkins with the adductor that we were saying, it's a 3-4 week. Well, it turns out it was just a little bit sore and gave him a rest rather than an actual full-blown thing. He's back. Tanner Bruin, I'm relieved to see back because I've got another multi-link to him.
Very nice.
And then Jack Bowes for his first game of the year, which is awesome. Jack was really showing good signs through the preseason there. I mean, I'm pretty bullish about what Jack Bowes can be and for the club, and hopefully he just kind of doesn't break stride with how he's performing through the preseason there. Spends a bit of time in the midfield, which seemed to be where he's being thrown more, and obviously that's where kind of the core of his game once was before he kind of played that half back pocket sort of role last year. Hopefully he kind of tears it up in the midfield. It'd be awesome to see.
Yeah, I've definitely been. I won't dwell on it, but I'm not 100% sold on Bowes yet. A bit like, anyway, it feels a bit like Menangola to me. Like sometimes he looks great, and other times I'm like, I'm not so sure.
Jack Gunston on the outs list for the Hawks, though.
Yeah, true. And Finn McGuinness is out as well, I think, from the Hawks. So, and Ned Reeves.
He's the tagger, right? He's been tagging.
Yeah, he's the tagger. So he's the finisher, as Kane Corns calls him, I think. So we don't know the sub yet, Paul, but we do know that Reece Stanley, Shawnee Manor, and Zachary Tui are the emergencies. Wouldn't be surprised if Tui plays again. Is there going to be another out, do you think? Bear in mind, there's going to be some changes in 5 days' time because we've only got a 5-day break. So you imagine there'll be a bunch of guys that aren't going to play back-to-back games out of this lot as well. So maybe they are just saving Tui for the Adelaide game, and Shawnee Manor comes back in. I don't know. You wouldn't think. Maybe Stanley's the one that Stanley and Tui, they're just saving. Like, we can't play you both in consecutive
the fact
weeks.
that Stanley's still on the emergencies list after being managed is setting off some little alarm bells that maybe he does actually come in. But as Rob Kieran's is saying there, heard something that Reece Stanley broke his hand. And, that was some of the concern at the time during the game as well, that there was some more significant damage to the hand. So
it'll be something like, it's not that it's a like-for-like replacement, but Tom Atkins or Tanner Bruin's not quite right, and they just don't get over the line, and they leave that decision to the very last minute.
Manor comes
and
back
then Stanley comes back in. It might be all about, not to say that Geelong isn't telling the truth, but it might be about the weather gods and whether we're expecting a wet day at MCG tomorrow, or if the rain is going to hold off.
Which I saw that get shouted at by Luke M in the comments as well.
Yeah.
But I was taking a bit of a look at the weather app because you'd floated that past me at one stage before, and for peace of mind for people, because the game starts at 3:20. The bad weather is not meant to kick in until, it's only a 40% chance, I might add. Thank you, Apple. The weather is not meant to kick in until about 7:30 tomorrow night. So,
beautiful. And as we know,
you should be home and hosed at that point.
It's a great job being a meteorologist and a boundary umpire. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. You still got a job at the end of the day.
Job the next day and take your fat pack of cash and off you go.
Off you go. So you heard it here first, though, people. Paul is predicting fine weather at the MCG. Sunny weather. It's going to be a great day. The colours that we're going to be popping. The Cats are going to. Well, I'm predicting. You can take this to the bank, 60. Everyone. For the 12 people currently in the chat, the Cats by 80 plus. Thank you, 12 rows back 60 plus. I'm going to see that, and I'm going to raise you by 20. I'm going to go Cats by 80 plus. And yes, absolutely.
Jeremy Cameron to kick 6.
Hurt. Jezza kick 6. Hawks maybe. Hawk can kick about 4, I reckon.
There'll be 10 between them.
Ollie Henry will be another one that starts his All-Australian campaign as well. He'll bob up for 4 as well.
Look at you climbing on that bandwagon.
I've been on that back. Go back to the season review video, mate. You'll see. I had Ollie Henry for 55 plus goals. He hasn't quite started off setting the world on fire, but he's there. All right, Paul. I think we got through all the games again. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Hopefully, we're getting most of our Cats fans there to see Tommy Hawkins get raised up in the clouds. Hopefully, the weather stays good. Should be a cracker of a game. It always, usually is. Doesn't matter if it's a smashing.
Jackie McDonald with a brilliant little comment there too.
What have we got? I trust the weather app as much as the Geelong. Yes, very good, Jackie. Thank you.
Medium term.
Yeah. All right. I should run a poll. Will it rain tomorrow? Yay or nay?
Jez to crash into another umpire.
Oh, what odds for that? Jez to do something funny. Jez to do something funny. Good.
Crack a tinny with someone in the crowd.
That is drink someone's beer in the front row after just crashing into them. That is probably likely. Paul, we're through another show. Thanks everyone for tuning in again. Much appreciated. If you are new to the channel and you haven't already, please think about giving us a like, a subscribe, and a share, and all that stuff. We are doing this show every Sunday night. We've got our post-game live show at some stage after the game tomorrow as well. I was scheduling that for 10 o'clock. I'm not sure if it'll still be at 10 o'clock or a little bit earlier, possibly, but the plan is we'll have a post-game live show tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that one. Don't forget to check out the Spotify, the Twitter, and the Facebook, and all that fun stuff. Paul, go Cats. I think we'll win. Are you picking the Cats tomorrow? Clearly you are.
Of course. No doubt
by?
about it. I had the Cats by 50. But
50, okay. If you've got the Cats by anything less than 50, you're kidding yourselves. Thanks for watching, everyone. Go Cats. See you on the next one.
See ya.